Hello, this is Steve Suffletto from Erie Community College, ECC. I have a edition from Popular Mechanics magazine from November of 1948. Price was only 35 cents. I thought it would be interesting just to take a look at how this book was produced. Well, the first thing we want to know is how was it bound? So if you take a look at the backbone or the spine here, this is the head, this is the foot, this is the face, this is the backbone or the spine. You can see the individual signatures here. Let's see how close we get here and focus. So these are the individual signatures. I can actually pull them apart. So because these signatures have not been cut off or ground off, that tells me that this book was not perfect bound or hot melt adhesive bound. So if we open up the front cover here, there's our tail. We can actually see that the booklet has been, let me get nice and close here, these are metal staples or stitches, one there and one down here. So let's look at the back of the book. We should see those two. Yep, sure enough, right there and right there, the book has been exposed to some moisture. Those staples are starting to actually rust. So the binding method here is side stitched with the cover glued on. Okay, that's the binding method. Let's see how many pages are here. We have, well, let's see, where do we start counting? There's page 2, there's page 1, so page 1. And as we get to the back here, $333, and then they have some supplemental section here, 344, and then some supplemental pages here, so about 350 pages. Okay. The other thing that's interesting is look at the different types of stocks they printed on. Some of the stocks were whiter. I'm going to assume that that white paper may be smoother and glossier, higher quality than the other pages. So those pages might have halftones on them, or duotones, where the other pages are just for text. So if we open up the book, what's interesting here is that the paper has faded in color from the outside inward. That's because the outside edges of the book obviously are exposed to the atmosphere, the environment. That would be light exposure, that would be air exposure, oxygen, and that would be moisture exposure. So the paper has faded from the outside edges inward. Okay, so as we flip through the book here, we see it's mostly, let's do this a couple different ways. It's mostly text and halftones with a lot of illustrations. So here's some duotones, blue and black. There's a red image, some green ink, a lot of black and white halftones, some spot colors here. More, that's, see now, these would be interesting because I don't think that's process. I think they're using the blue spot and the red spot. I don't think that's process color. So it's kind of like a fake man's version. So here it is, a red and a blue to make a tritone. So those are tritones and not four-color process. So I don't see any cyan, magenta, and yellow in the book. Again, that's a tritone, not four-color process. So there's the black and white halftones, some spot orange, some spot green, some spot red, red. Okay, so the other thing we could do here is we could see what screen ruling frequency or screen count they're using for these halftones. So we can get our screen angle indicator here, lay it on a halftone, and you see immediately, I hope you can see this, we get that circular moire pattern, and that says that they're using 100 LPI for the halftones. So just let's check a few other ones here. Here's another halftone, and sure enough, you can see it immediately. This moire is at 100 lines per inch. Okay, and then if we take a magnifying glass, loupe, L-O-U-P-E, or we take a lighted one, and we look at the type, or if I take a digital microscope, turn it on, it's basically a camera. We can turn on more of the lights. So this turns on more of the lights. This makes the lights brighter. So I have all lights turned on at full brightness. We can look at the type at 10x. I'm going to turn the lights off here, see if that helps us see. We can look at the type at 10x. We can take a picture of that. Oops, hit the wrong button. Let me turn these lights back on again. That's all the lights at full brightness. That's at 10x. I can take a picture of that. Let's zoom into 40x. Take a picture of that. And if we look at these pictures, okay, that's the 40x, that's the 10x, again 40x, 10x, excuse me, 40x, 10x. My identification of this printing method would be letterpress, because the outer edges have a little bit more ink than the center edges do. I can see that if you look right here. These edges are darker than the center is. These edges are darker than the center is. So that's typical of a printing process that uses a relief plate. And letterpress would be a relief plate. So this was interesting. Once again, Popper Mechanics from 1948. The binding method was side stitched, many multiple folded signatures. several different types of papers. 110 or 100 lines per inch halftones and duotones. No 4-color process. There are some tritones here. Some spot colors, red, green, blues, and yellows. And letterpress was popular up into the mid 50s, early 60s, and then offset lithography quickly took it over as the most popular printing method. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye now.